Welcome to Weekly Weather Brief, where we're summarizing the stories of the week. Two former broadcast meteorologists. We've got myself, meteorologist Emily Gracey. Hi there, Kerrin.
Hey there, Emily Gracey. I'm meteorologist Kerrin Jeromin. Thanks everyone for joining us for another Weekly Weather Brief. Some crazy stuff happening this week, Emily. I know it's hot where you are.
It is, yeah. And if you're watching us and not listening to us, you can see that we are dressed appropriately for the heat this week. But, you know, the Northeast, man, you guys got us beat. You guys broke some records this week when it came to heat, right?
Yeah. There was a lot going on this week, temperature-wise here around really like the whole eastern U.S., but the Northeast especially had some record-breaking heat. First real heat wave going on this year. Several places in the Northeast topping over 90 degrees, some pushing over 100. I know we had some preliminary all-time May temperature records that were tied up in Manchester, New Hampshire. I believe it was 97 degrees there earlier this week, so toasty one, and now dealing with some frost advisories and freeze warnings here in New England. So typical New England
Quite
spring.
the swing. Oh, yikes. It's funny though, when I hear heat wave, I think like longer period of time. I guess there's no technical term though when it comes to heat wave, right? And it's just kind of like a stretch of hot weather, but it was kind of short-lived, right?
It's different around the country for sure. There are different thresholds, but in the Northeast, a lot of places are 3 days at or above 90 degrees. And so that was officially set in some of these Northeast cities. But, you know, if you were talking like to someone from New Mexico, they'd be like, what, 3 days? That's nothing. That's a break. Right. So there are different thresholds around the country. But Boston was up in the mid 90s earlier this week. There were some great stats put out on X from the NWS Eastern region that sums up the stats really nicely this week.
99 in Newark, New Jersey. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I think that was also a preliminary. Was that a preliminary all-time? I don't know. I'd have to check that stat again. But I know there was a spot in New Jersey that there was a preliminary automated reading over 100, which potentially would be an all-time May record there in Jersey. Toasty stuff here across the Northeast. But a quick end, cold front squashed the heat for some of us, at least up here in New England. It's bit cooler to end the week. To go into the Memorial Day weekend, of course, it's not nice now.
Yeah, we have not gotten that cold front yet because we're looking at a hot Memorial Day weekend in the Southeast and also some rain, which is much needed. We're still in a drought. Much of the Southeast, so many places still in a drought, and we're still talking about wildfires. So we talked about this weeks ago, like Georgia, Florida, wildfires still going on there. And then to add to it, there's a lot more wildfires out west. In fact, Southern California, some places close to Los Angeles and then even down into like San Diego along the Mexico border, there are numerous wildfires there. So something certainly we'll be watching probably for the next few weeks.
I was looking at the satellite imagery and just seeing the smoke plumes come out in California. You hate to see that. There was one really interesting spot that just caught my attention. It was coming off an island off the coast of California. I don't know if you saw that, the Santa Rosa Island fire, I believe it is.
I did see that. I was like, there's a fire on an island? Yes.
Yeah. Crazy. That was something that, you know, just kind of was like, what's going on? It's part of the Channel Islands National Park out there. As of last check, when we were recording this anyway, no deaths, no huge, impact to structures or anything across California yet, but many evacuations and quite impactful, and just adding to a very busy fire year already. So hate to see that.
Yeah, and then kind of on the other spectrum of things, flash flooding was a problem Wednesday night. There were some viral videos out there because of the areas that were hit, but a couple of cities, Atlanta being one of them, New York City being another one, just places that haven't got rain, and then all of a sudden just massive amounts of rain in just a short period of time, kind of isolated in some spots too. I have a friend in Brooklyn, and he said his neighborhood was fine, but like one neighborhood over major damage as far as flooding and trees down. And then Atlanta, there was noteworthy flooding on Wednesday evening as well. 3 inches within an hour in an area that has just been dealing with drought. And so it's not good rain. We talked about this with Becky a couple of weeks ago. This is not good rain.
Too much, too fast. That's Never good when you get rain. I did see that video as well. I saw some cars driving through flooded roads, and just a good reminder, a little PSA, please don't drive through flooded roads. Please, please, please don't drive through flooded roads.
It can be hard. I've been in that situation where you're dealing with like peer pressure of somebody behind you, somebody in front of you, you think you can make it, and then you stall out. So just, try to think about your car and the best decision for what could happen there. But
the horn honk peer pressure is real for sure.
What else, Kerrin? We have a new hurricane outlook.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not bury the lead here. That's the big one, I think. Just came out on Thursday. Yeah. NOAA's hurricane season outlook always gets big media coverage and lots of attention. Officially calling for a below normal season in the Atlantic, but above average season for the Central and Eastern Pacific, which we started alluding to last week. But now it's officially out, the forecast. So what do you think? What's your takeaway of the outlook this year? Expected? Surprising?
Yeah, I think not surprising. I was kind of looking at the numbers and comparing them to Colorado State. So NOAA's saying 8 to 14 named storms, 3 to 6 hurricanes, 1 to 3 major hurricanes. CSU said 13 named, 6 hurricanes, 2 major. So CSU is kind of on the higher end of what NOAA's predicting, but that kind of makes sense when you think about Colorado State issued theirs early April. We're now getting into mid to late May, and they have now this new knowledge of like there's an El Niño watch. So it's looking a little bit more decisive about that El Niño not only coming this summer, but coming soon, which would certainly play a role in that Atlantic season. So takeaways that I took from the press conference today were, Neil Jacobs spoke a lot about, he's a NOAA administrator, spoke a lot about forecasting tools, new forecasting tools, AI modeling, precision in forecasting, how good it's gotten. And then the emergency manager and Ken Graham, who's the head of the National Weather Service, got up and talked a lot about the after the storm. Like, yes, you can preparing is great, but prepare for the after the storm, power outages, and what's to come after that, because there can be so much that happens in that time after a storm. And that only takes one, they both brought that up as well. So this was a question that somebody asked in the media. They said, well, what about location? Does El Nino dictate where they might make landfall? And the forecasters were kind of like, we're working on that. Like we're researching that. We have a lot of research going into that right now. So they did say like everybody should be prepared no matter where you live. But the person who asked the question kind of hinted at this. Does El Nino mean that there could be some more northerly tracks, meaning like the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic? So I think at the end of the day, the answer is we don't know, but everybody likes to kind of make some guesses and assumptions about what to expect here. So
that is true. It's, educated guessing, but very scientific. So not guessing at all. That's a common stab that meteorologists always get, right? It's just a guess, but it's really not. There's a lot of research that goes into this. And I think that's interesting that someone asked about location, because I know that has been emerging research trying to figure out, are there correlations to where they happen? And, when you look back at El Nino years, there have been quite a few less than, say, in a La Nina year or a neutral year. There have been quite a few less landfalls overall because the activity is less in the Atlantic. But when there is a major storm that makes landfall, they're still notable, right? Like you said, it only takes one, but there is kind of a collection in the Southeast that stands out to me when I kind of look at the big picture map. There was Category 4 Charlie that was in Florida in 2004. That was a big El Nino year. Same year Ivan was a Category 4. 2018, I've got this written down here. 2018 was Hurricane Michael in Category 5 status there. That was a big one.
That was a doozy.
And then just recently in 2023, you had Hurricane Idalia, which was a Category 3 that also made landfall in Florida. Michael also being Florida. So there was a lot, it seemed to me, clustered in the Southeast, but that's not atypical because that's typically, the areas that hurricanes go. So it's hard to say if there's a true correlation, but I'd be curious to hear the research about that.
And I don't remember the specifics too of the formation of those, but it sounds like you named a lot of like Gulf storms. And, when we're talking about El Nino, we're talking about like what's going on in the Atlantic, not necessarily what's going on in the Gulf. And so that's something to watch too, is things that develop there and kind of that rapid intensification that can happen when you have these really warm temperatures, especially close to landfall. So I think, the takeaway definitely still is like, don't lay your guard down. Prepare now. If you're in a zone that maybe you might need a generator, like now's the time to buy it. Now's the time to make that kit and think about all of these things, because better to have it and not need it.
And there's a lot to be seen about the hurricane season ahead. I know, Emily, the last thing that always is interesting is the list of names. These are established well in advance, but it's a doozy of a year. We got a couple of hard ones on there. You got some repeat dangerous ones.
I was going to say, there's one I'm laughing about. Is it the same one you're laughing about?
Is it Cristobal?
Yes.
Or is it Isaias? Yes, that one's the repeat that all of our communicators are going to have to practice before you get on TV to talk about that
the one that nobody could say.
Yeah.
Well, we have a week and a half to practice. But yeah, June 1st, hurricane season begins, but we'll keep an eye on it. Well, we're at our time, Kerrin, and as always, good to see you, good to chat with you, and thank you for making me smarter every week.
Back at you, sister. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you next week.